Hi everybody, this is TechNolli, and today I just wanted to show you one of my PC builds that are available on my website. We've got this Ryzen system in the NZXT H510 case. Super nice case, really strong, and it comes with two case fans, as you can see there. Now, of course, I add water cooling to this. And there we go. Got a dual fan 240 all in one. This particular system for this gentleman has 128 gigabytes of RAM and a 5700 XT gigabyte graphics card. And of course, we've got our Thunderbolt card in there. Plus, down there, if you see it, we've got that red M.2 to U2 adapter because he wants to use U2 drives. So let me turn this around and show you the back. It's a super clean layout. We've got, of course, our case fans, and then down here we've got all of our I/O. And here is, of course, our Thunderbolt card. And the I/Os on this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 USB 3s on this thing, plus one on the case, on the front of the case. So super nice system, really stable. We're using an ASRock motherboard on this one. And I want to show you the specs. We've got the Ryzen 9 3900X CPU in this one. And I want to show you the specs. I know we've done these before, but I just want to show you again on these builds how strong these are. Okay, let's get started. Okay guys, here we are. Now, you know, I've had a lot of people on my YouTube channel state that they can't believe that I would sell EFI folders and this and that. Well, I understand where you're coming from. The Hackintosh community is an amazing community. They help a lot of people, but they don't help everybody. Some people don't understand Opencore or Clover. Some people don't have time to invest in creating an EFI. And so, since my business was closed this year due to our current state of affairs, this is my only source of income. And so what I am doing is I have created a lot of wonderful support, and I thank you all for that support. I thank you all for watching my videos, for moving the channel along and everything. But with 19,000 subscribers, the amount of money you make on YouTube is nothing. And so in order for me to make a living right now, I am in the business of making EFIs and helping people out. And so I hope that puts a little bit of rest to the haters, of course. And that's okay. I understand where you're coming from. But this is a business for me now. And so selling EFIs that I've created myself in my own time with my parts, this is just a way for me to make a little bit of money right now. If you don't like that and everything, of course you can choose to go to whatever channels you like, and you don't have to watch my videos. So I really appreciate, though, the vast majority of everybody who kind of gets it and who appreciates that there is an opportunity for them to get their computers up and running very quickly without having to learn everything about Opencore. With that being said, this computer that I just showed you in the intro is just one of these systems that I build. And so, in fact, it was this system right here. And So people have been coming here and, you know, buying PCs and everything if they don't have time to build it themselves. But I am going to show you in this video how to make the EFI for this particular computer, and I'm going to provide the EFI on my website, and you're going to see some specs. So let's get started with learning how to do the EFI on this, and I'll show you everything there is. First off, let's just go right over to the Opencore website. Okay, Opencore, and here it is. And we're currently on version 6.2, so we'll get started. We want to go here to creating USB. So we'll click there and click Opencore package. I'm going to go down here to the release version and grab it. Now something else that I'm going to need is property. So I'm going to grab it. And something else we're going to need that is not just shown here easily is a program called Mount EFI Opencore. It's on my website, free of charge to download, of course. But if you can't find it, it's right here. Or if you don't want to download it from my site. So there we go. All right, so that's what we're going to need to get started. Now, this particular motherboard, this is what I do, guys. This is an ASRock motherboard, and it's an X570, and it is the Phantom Gaming 4. So what I do is I go over here to the ASRock website to see what kind of LAN connection this has, because we have to pick the correct KEX for the LAN, right? So I'm going to go down here to specifications, and right here it is. So it's the i211AT. So now I can go back to Opencore, and I should have saved that, shouldn't I? And go here to gathering files, and this is where we get our drivers and our KEX, okay? So I'm going to go ahead while I'm right here and grab this HFS Plus and download it. And then I'm going to go over here. The only thing I'm going to need here is some KEX. So we're going to need, for any Opencore Hackintosh we do, we're going to need this virtual SMC. I'm going to download the release version. We're going to need Lilu. We'll download the release version. Let's see, we're going to need whatever green. Okay, release version. And we're going to need Apple ALC for our audio, the release version. Okay, see, this way I've got the latest KEX, because these KEX get updated darn near monthly. Now, Ethernet, like we were talking, mine has an i211. So here it is, small tree Intel 82576 KEX required for i211. So we'll just grab it. We just want to click on this small tree, this top one right here, and then download the KEX right here, okay? All right, so let's go back to Opencore. And now what we want to do is go down here on the side to configs, and we want to click on AMD desktop config. And we are doing a Ryzen, so we're going to click on Ryzen. Now, we're going to come down here and see what we're going to need, okay? All right, we start with our ACPI. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and I want to grab all of the files that we're going to need for this particular motherboard, and then we can get started with building the EFI. So we come down here to these required SSDTs. This is the only one that is required for X570 boards. If you have a B550 or an A520, then you're going to have to get this SSDT as well. So I'm going to click on here, and it comes up to this page. So all we do is go right over here to pre-built SSDs, go down here to AMD Zen, and we can grab a copy of it right there, that SSDT. All right, so let's minimize all this and see what we have. So we've got our Opencore. I'm going to set it right out here on the desktop. I'm going to get my mount, EFI update, and my proper tree, because I'm going to need all of these files for a while here. Okay, so let's open up Opencore folder, and this has changed a little bit. So we're going to go to x64, and here is the EFI I'm going to work on. So I'm going to put that over here. Now let's go ahead and double click on EFI and then OC, and we don't have a config.plist, so let's go under docs and let's grab this sample plist and then rename it to config.plist. All right. Okay, so there we go. Now ACPI, remember this is where the SSDTs need to go. I just have one I have to drop in here, so we'll just grab that and go. All right, so we're done. Let's go over here to drivers. We can get rid of everything in here except openruntime.efi. If you want to do a graphical startup menu, then you want to keep opencanopy.efi too. But for simplicity, I'm going to get rid of everything else and just have the open runtime. Now another driver that we need is one that we downloaded. We need this hfsplus.efi. Okay, let's go back and let's get into the kext folder. Nothing in here, so we have to supply everything. Here is our Ethernet. We can open up here. All we want is the .kext file. We don't want any dsym, okay? So just want the kext file. There's my Apple. Here's my whatever green. Let's grab my Lilu and virtual SMC. We'll grab this one. All of these other sensors are not really supported with AMD, so we don't need any of those. So let's close that out and let's go back here and see where we are. All right, so we got our ACPI, we got our drivers, we've got our kext. Let's go under tools and just get rid of everything in here. Okay, now let's open back up and go back over to the Opencore installation guide, okay, for the Ryzen Threadripper. All right, something else we're going to need, because Ryzen is not anywhere near an Intel processor, is we're going to need a AMD kernel patch, and right here it is. So let's click on that and let's open this up, and what I do is I just click on Spotlight, type in text, edit, and make sure that you go over to format and choose plain, make plain text. Click on raw, highlight everything and copy it and put it into your text document. Okay, so I'm done with that. Now on our text document, we're going to do File, Save, and I'm going to call it patches.plist, just so I remember what it is. Uncheck this extension and put it on my desktop and save it. All right, let's get started. We're ready to start building our config.plist now. Okay, so we're going to use proper tree to edit our config.plist. So we'll double click on it, right click on proper tree.command and open, and then choose open again. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to squish this over a little bit. That way I can see both sections. So now I want to go to File, Open, and I want to choose on my desktop the EFI, the OC folder, the config.plist, and click Open. All right. Now, right here, it's giving you some warning messages. You can leave them in there. I just remove them because we don't need them, and I'd like to make my config.plist look clean. Okay, the first thing we want to do is do an OC snapshot, which is over here under File, and then OC snapshot. Now what does that do? What that does is it injects all of the SSDTs, remember, right here, all of the drivers, all of the kex into the config.plist so it knows the path. So we'll go File, OC Snapshot, make sure you're on your EFI OC that you're working on, and then click Choose. And it just injected everything in there, SSDTs, kex, and all. All right, so let's move on down here. So we come down here to Booter, and then we come to, right here's Booter, and we come to these quirks under Booter, and we want to make sure that what is shown here shows up over here. So this first one right here, devirtualize MIMO, that needs to be no, which it is. Enable write unprotect. You can skip all the ones that are not talked about because they're fine by default, and this one should be turned to false or no. Okay, right here, yes equals true, no equals false. Okay, rebuild our Apple memory map needs to be true, and then this right here, it states the setup virtual map. It says note that these boards should disable this and newer BIOS versions of X570. So yes, we want to turn this to false. And then sync runtime permissions, we need to be true. Okay, the next section we're coming to is a section that some people get mixed up on. We have to add that patch right there that we did, this patch up here, into our config.plist. So what I want you to do is simply go down here, right here it says kernel. Under kernel, I want you to look for patch. And there it is. I just want you to highlight it and then right click and click on remove patch and any children. Okay, then let's go back up to kernel. All right, so we're getting ready. And then I want you to go File, Open, and then go to the desktop to open the patches plist, which is right here. Now I want you to click next to patch again. Now this is on the patches plist, not on our config.plist. And I want you to right click and copy. And then I want you to go over here to our config.plist, click on kernel, just highlight it, right click and paste. And that just put in all of those patches that are necessary for this Ryzen to work. Okay, let's close that out. Now we want to look for this quirk. Okay, so here's what we just did. We did the kernel, so we have to go back up a little bit and just make sure that right there, dummy power management is set to true. Okay? All right, let's move on down. We're done with that section. We need to come to these quirks right here, and really simple, we can just jump right to panic no kex dump and turn that to true. The next one, power timeout, needs to be true. And for our USB port limit, we're going to set that to true down here. All right. Now, if you want to know more information about each of these items, you can click on More Info, and it'll talk and tell you, give you an explanation of what each of these settings do, which is very interesting stuff. All right, so we're down to miscellaneous. So let's go down here until we see miscellaneous. Okay, we got all of those patches put in here. So we're going to go all the way down till we see miscellaneous. There it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and turn on these items. Now, let's come down here to the this Apple debug. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn these on like it says in the guide. Panic and disable watchdog. Now, if you set the target to 67, it's going to produce a kind of a debug text file every time you reboot your computer. So that's more for if you're trying to debug your system, find out what's wrong with it. So if we set it to 3, it won't make all of those text documents in the EFI folder. So I'm going to leave mine set to 3 because I know it works. Okay, then we're going to come to security right here, and we're going to go ahead and change just like the manual says here. Scan policy, don't forget this, to turn it to 0. And then down here where it says vault, make sure that you type in optional. And then of course right above it, this is a new one, secure boot model default. All right. Tools, NVRAM. All right, tools, NVRAM right here. Okay, here are boot arguments. Okay, here are the boot arguments that we need. So we've got the -V to show us verbose mode. When we're booting the computer, it's all of that text on the screen. And I definitely suggest that you leave this turned on until your system is stable or booting properly and everything. So if it does get stuck somewhere in that boot process with all that text, you can see where it gets stuck and try to get some help. So let's double click on this, and we're going to have to add a couple more boot arguments. We have to have a space between each boot argument. All right, so let's grab this debug, paste it in there, space, and we're going to need this particular argument for Ryzen, space, and then this one to set our audio to work. Now, if you have a 5000 series graphics card, then you want to use this argument as well and put it at the end here. And this computer does have one, so I am going to grab it, copy, and put it in there. Okay, and then hit enter, and I am done with that section. Now let's come down here to preferred language, which is right here. Right now it's set to Russian, so let's change this. I'm going to change this to string, and I'm going to type in EN-US:0, and that will put everything into English. Okay. If you need a different language, just click on Apple Keyboard Layouts text, and it'll tell you what values to put in there. Write flash is already enabled, so it's set to true. Platform info right here. We need to change this because we want to make it iMac Pro 1,1. So let's change that. iMac Pro 1,1 and enter. We'll change our board number right here, serial number, and UUID when we are finished with the build, getting everything installed. Everything else is by default. You don't have to check anything else down here. We're okay. We can go over here to File and Save, and that way everything that we just did is saved in the config.plist. Now, let's grab the USB stick that we just made and get started. Okay, so I grabbed a brand new thumb drive, and trust me, using a USB 3 thumb drive as opposed to a 2 will make your life a little easier, makes it go a lot faster. All right, so let's get started with this. So here it is. I've got my brand new USB thumb drive. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and we just want to go up here to Utilities and format this thing. Okay, so we'll go to Disk Utility, and we will make sure that we're Show All Devices, and there is my SanDisk. So I'm going to click on that. It's a little 16 gig. I'm going to click Erase, and I'm just going to call it USB, and it's macOS Extended Journal, and make sure you change this scheme to GUID partition map, and click Erase. All right, we're done. Now, very simply, let's go back over to the web, and let's get the line of text that we need to format this. But first, we need to make sure that we have our OS under the applications, okay? So right here, I've got install macOS Catalina. Now, how did I get that there? There's two ways. Let's say you own a Mac. You can download the current or the latest version of Catalina on that Mac, and it will put it right here, okay, in the applications folder on a regular Mac. If you don't have a regular Mac to do this on, then I have a video that'll be right up here you can click on that shows you how to download the Mac OS, okay? And it's pretty detailed. So I've already got it put into my applications folder, so I'm going to just go over to the web and type in make a USB bootable for Mac. And this Apple support page comes right up, and I just want to go down here and grab this text, Catalina, right? So I'm going to grab this text just to the / on volumes, okay? Copy it, then go over here to Spotlight and type in terminal, enter, right click and paste that line of text in there, but I have to add USB because that is what I named my USB stick. And then hit enter, put in my password, and then click yes or Y for yes and hit enter. And it's going to erase and then say okay and start making the vanilla bootloader right here for macOS Catalina. And this will take about 20 minutes or so. So when this gets done, we'll come right back. Okay, so we are done. Now, here is my stick, and if I double click on it, you'll see I've got the Catalina in there. But we need to get to the hidden EFI partition on this USB stick to put in our EFI folder. So let's use Mount EFI for that. Double click, right click and open, and then I'm going to choose right here number 1. This is my install macOS Catalina, so I'm going to choose number 1, put in my password, and look what popped up, an EFI hidden partition. All right, so I double click on that and then just grab the EFI we just made and put it into the EFI partition. Okay, now we are ready to get into the BIOS, and I'm going to show you the BIOS settings on this particular board and then start installing the OS. Let's get going. Okay guys, so I'm going to start tapping the delete key to get into the BIOS. All right, here we go. All right, so let's just move over to OC Tweaker, and what I do is I use my arrow keys. You can use your mouse if you like, but I use the arrow keys. It's a lot easier. Okay, let's go down here to our load XMP setting, and if you set this to auto, it's going to make your DDR RAM down to 2400. So I've got 3200 DDR RAM in here, so I'm going to go ahead and choose profile 1 so it recognizes it. Then let's go to advanced, arrow over, and under CPU configuration there's nothing for us to change. Onboard device configuration, we just want to make sure that we have our WAN radio and our Bluetooth enabled. We're using the little onboard M.2 Wi-Fi Bluetooth card, which is natively supported, and that is in the description below. Okay, and then storage configuration, we just want to make sure we're on AHCI. ACPI config, nothing. Super IO, we want to make sure to disable the serial port. Nothing under AMI graphic output. Trusted computing, nothing. AMD CBS, nothing. AMD PBS, yes, we need to make sure Thunderbolt support is enabled. And security level, make sure you have this set to no security, because by default it sets it to user authorization. So we want to make sure it's set to no security. All right, let's escape out of here. There's nothing else to change. Tool, nothing. Hardware monitor, nothing. Security, nothing. Boot, we want to make sure. We go down here. Fast boot is disabled, and CSM compatibility support is disabled and above 4G. We'll go over to exit, save changes and exit, and we will start booting. Now I've got several hard drives in this, so I'm going to use the F11 key, which is on ASRock. That's your boot menu key. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to my SanDisk partition 1 and hit enter. Now I'm on my USB stick, and I'm going to go down here to install macOS Catalina external. And here we go. We'll go through some text, and we'll come up to our disk utility menu. Okay, here we go. Like usually, you'll get stuck on a couple lines, but it'll keep going. All right, now we're getting to some exciting stuff. So let's choose Disk Utility, Continue, and make sure right here under View that you select and show all devices. All right, now right here is my little 256 gigabyte. This Sabrent is a 4 terabyte for this gentleman. He bought the 4 terabyte Sabrent drive, and it already has macOS installed on it, so I'm just going to leave that alone and just install on my little 256. Click Erase. I'm going to name it Test, and then we want to make sure that we change our format to APFS and make sure we're on GUID partition map under Scheme and click Erase. All right, we're done. So let's go out of here and let's start installing macOS. Continue, agree, and agree. And I'm going to make sure that I choose my test. Whatever you named your hard drive, that's what you're going to choose, and click Install. This will get down to about 2 minutes remaining and restart on its own. So we'll be right back. Okay, and now it should restart. 2 minutes remaining. And there it goes. All right, so now we're going to come up again. We want to make sure that we leave the USB stick in the computer, and we're going to come up to our next menu, and we're going to make sure that it chooses Mac OS Installer. And it did choose it, so we can let it go and continue on with the install. Okay, and so now we're coming up to the next stage, and we're going to come up to the Apple logo, and this needs to go completely across, and it'll take about 12 minutes or so. So we'll come back when it gets closer to the end. Hold on 1 second. Okay, less than a minute remaining, so we're going to reboot one more time. Let's see if it does it. All right, there it goes. So leave your stick in there. We still got to boot it up one more time using the USB stick. All right, we'll come up here to the final boot up. And it should choose, right there, it did choose my test, which is what I named my hard drive. So we'll just let it go. And we'll be coming up to configure everything to get logged in. All right. Okay, here we go. All right. So there, it just defaulted to US for me. That's nice. Continue. Continue. And here is my little Wi-Fi card. It is working beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my internet, put in my password for my internet, my router, and continue. And I don't want to transfer anything, so continue, and definitely set up later. Don't log in to your Apple ID at this point. You may get logged out and blacklisted. So set up later and skip. Then agree and agree. And then you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it a Mac and put in a password. All right, and continue. And I always do custom settings here on Express Setup. I enable location services, but I turn off analytics. Continue. And continue. And I don't want Siri, so I'll just click continue and get rid of that. And I'm going to choose auto. Continue. And here we go. Awesome. All right, so we'll click continue, and we want to do what it says here, identifying your keyboard, and then we are done. All right, now here's my Wi-Fi working good. Right there, everything working. Now let's go over here to the Bluetooth and turn it on, and I've got this little Apple mouse. I'm going to see if it finds it, and I'm going to show the Bluetooth up here in the menu bar. Okay, and it says not connected. Trying again. Now, if you have this error like this, it's kind of acting a little strange, go ahead and just remove and then turn off your mouse, turn it back on, and see if it finds it. And there it is. So sometimes you have to do that. It just, for some reason, can't find itself or whatever. But there it is, connected, and it's working beautifully. All right. So there we go. Now, let's just do a couple of benchmarks. We've done this one before, but we've never done one with 128 gigs of RAM. So that could be interesting. I don't think it'll make any changes. But before we do the benchies, let's go ahead and show you what we have to do to remove our USB stick. So let's go back over to, let's just go to my website, TechNolli.com. And we'll go right over here to more and then downloads. And here we can just grab what we need. I need the Gen SMBIOS to make our serial numbers, to create them. And we're going to need that Mount EFI again. So I'll just download that real quick. And yeah, that's it for now. Okay, now let's go to our downloads and let's use the Mount EFI command. And we have to, when we first do this, we have to right click and open, and then open and say OK. And then I want to see the EFI partition on the USB stick. So I'm going to press number 1, which is my stick, put in my password, and there is the EFI. Now we also want number 3, which is my hard drive. that we're installed on right now. So let's go over here to Computer, and we're going to go to the EFI, and notice there is nothing in here. So we have to grab the EFI folder from our USB EFI hidden partition and put it into the EFI hidden partition on our hard drive. Okay, so we're done with that. Now I'm going to eject the USB stick. Now this right here, if you want to know what this is the other Mac OS install on this computer, so not to worry. Now let's go ahead and create those serial numbers. So we use Gen SMBIOS, double click, right click on Gen SMBIOS dot command and open. And then open. All right. Then we want to choose number 1, enter. Then enter again, then choose number 2, and it wants to know where is the config.plist. So we'll go to Computer, we'll go to the EFI folder, OC, and we'll just highlight and drag config.plist into our little program here and hit enter. Now we want to generate the SMBIOS, so we'll select number 3. And what it wants to know here is, what is the system product name? And if you remember, in the config.plist, we called it iMac Pro 1,1. We hit enter. It just created those serial number, board number, and UUID number. So we're good there. It injected it into our config.plist. We hit enter again, and we are done. So let's close out terminal. And let's restart real quick so we can see if, right now, you can see right here, it says about this Mac, there is no serial number. So let's go ahead and restart to make sure those changes took effect. All right, let's put in our password. And we will check and see if we have a new serial number. And there it is. So now we could go ahead and log into our Apple ID with our Apple ID and download things or whatever you want to do. Okay, now let's get into some benchmarks, okay? So let's get started with Geekbench 5. Now we do have the 5700 in here. So, and 128 gig of RAM, as you can see right there. And we have the Ryzen 9 3900X. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. And as soon as this is done, we'll come back and take a look at the numbers. Okay, guys, here we are. Let's see here. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scores. Now, on another system that I did, it had 64 gigabytes of RAM. It was a gigabyte motherboard, X570 Elite. The numbers are the same. They are the same. So, of course, memory is not going to make a difference here. But just to give you guys a quick estimate to see where we are with a real Mac. Look at that. Above anything on this chart, because we're at 1331. So we're above anything on this chart, anything on here, on the single score. On the multi, we're at 12,000, so we're in between these two. And this is a Mac Pro 2019, and you know what they cost. And this is an iMac Pro 2017, and these are Xeon processors, 18 and 12 cores. So again, still, the 3900X is the bang for the buck. It just truly is. Let's go ahead and run the metal score on here real quick on our AMD 5700. We'll be right back. All right. Let's see where we are. Yeah, 42,489. That is just incredible. Incredible scores. So I had a metal score, a 3950X, and the metal score was 41,167, so this is even beating that score. All right, let's jump into Cinebench just for the heck of it, and we will see how we're doing with this. Let's run it. Now I'm just letting this run for you so you can compare it to your system when you're doing the Cinebench score. This is moving along very nicely. Let's see what the score we get on this one. Last score I had on this was 7350. 7393. So still the same score with 128 gigabytes. It's about the same thing. Amazing processor. It just truly is an amazing processor. Now, I'm going to show you one more thing, guys, before we go out of here. Now, I want to plug in this. I've got an external Thunderbolt 3.5-inch drive that I'm going to plug into the Thunderbolt to show you that it's working. But it will not work hot plug. So what I have to do is I have to shut down the computer, plug it into the Thunderbolt port, and then turn back on the computer so it does a handshake. So let's shut down. I'll plug it in and we'll restart and see if it works. All right, guys, rebooting up here with the external Thunderbolt hard drive plugged in. And let's make sure it works. Now, I have tested this before and it works. This is a new install, so we're just going to verify it. And also, your Apollo interfaces work beautifully too. So this is a great system for a lot of different setups, for whether it's video editing or audio production. It just really is a rock solid, one of my best, really, to be honest. There it is. There's my 1 terabyte drive, and no issues at all. Beautiful. Now, if I unplugged it right now and plugged it back in, it's not going to come back. All right. But if I want to eject it, it does work. All right. So there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to build this yourself, there will be a list of all of the components to this system down below. Now you know how to make your own EFI for this particular computer. And if you want a system built, maybe check me out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.